Welcome to Greenhouse Grower to Grower, the podcast where we talk to growers from across the greenhouse industry about market trends, innovation, their biggest challenges and opportunities, and more. I'm Sparks, Senior Editor of Greenhouse Grower. Matt Foertmeyer of Foertmeyer & Sons in Ohio and Denise Mullins of Smith Gardens in Washington were two of the 14 members of the inaugural HRI Leadership Academy. The Academy was launched by AmericanHort and the Horticultural Research Institute in early 2022 and is designed to develop and foster the skills the green industry needs to perform better, grow faster, and prepare for the future. The Academy consists of in-person training sessions and virtual online classes and meetings with a strong focus on leadership development. I recently caught up with Matt and Denise to learn more about their experience in the Academy, their biggest takeaways, and how it helped them prepare to become future industry leaders. Here's our conversation.
Well, I've been in the horticulture industry now for a little over 20 years, and I think my career kicked off at the Dallas Arboretum in Texas, and then I moved up to Washington, started working for Smith Gardens. It's been almost 15 years now.
Nice.
So it's been a long haul for me, yeah. I started off there as doing production planning. Given that my background was trials and greenhouse management, it of course just started working on trials almost immediately at Smith, and within a few years, I was able to start a trial program that's actually grown pretty well. This is going to be our 10th year. 24 will be our 10th year for our trial garden events that we started doing.
Nice.
And now I think in 2018 I moved into a director of product innovation role. So pretty much I oversee trials, R&D. I choose all the genetics with Mark Smith and work on product development with our buyers, with our account managers, work with production. I joke around a lot with people that I'm like the rainbow bridge between production and sales.
You kind of need that person at every company, I think. It's easy to have those roles and those departments kind of be exclusive to themselves, but so it's nice to have that person who kind of gets the communication lines going between each of those departments. So that's great.
Yeah, it's great. I love what I do.
Awesome. That's good to hear. Matt, why don't you talk about Foertmeyer & Sons and, your role there?
Yeah, definitely. So, Foertmeyer & Sons was a company that my family actually started. My parents started in 1988. I was 5 years old at that point in my life. So pretty much every memory I have, there's been a greenhouse in my life. There's always been something in the backyard, something down the road, whatever. I'm a greenhouse kid, I guess, how you would describe me. And, I've been involved in the company full time since I graduated from the Ohio State University in 2007. My role predominantly when I started with the company was more of a grower role. I eventually took on the head grower role here. Now my role has changed recently. As well as being an owner, I also kind of oversee the production and the growing and kind of making sure that both of our facilities, we have a facility in Central Ohio and also a facility in Northwest Ohio, just making sure that those two companies are two operations are working in unison, following the same standards, kind of just setting the goals for each of those locations and making sure that we're meeting them. The thing that's kind of unique about Foertmeyer & Sons, I know you know this, Brian, but we're a fundraising company. So we sell exclusively to schools all throughout the state of Ohio and in the surrounding states as well. And, that wasn't always our primary, business model, but as we've kind of developed that side of our company, it's just really become what we've recognized as, what we're good at and what we really, really thrive with. So we've kind of cut out a lot of the other things that we do. And now fundraising is over 90% of the revenue, the income that we bring in. And we love it. That's being able to provide schools an opportunity to sell something really nice, make money for whatever they need to make money for. And kind of just adds a little meaning, I think, to what you're doing every day.
Good. That's great to hear. So it was only about in the past year or two that AmericanHort, through the Horticultural Research Institute, formed the HRI Leadership Academy. So let's talk about how each of you got involved. What was did you step up and were you recruited, or how did that process work of you becoming part of the initial class of the Leadership Academy?
Matt, you go ahead first.
Yeah, it's something that I've been really excited about ever since, I heard it announced. And I'm pretty involved with AmericanHort. I've been a part of their Greenhouse Community Connector group for several years now. We kind of help that association recommend education and things like that for specifically the greenhouse sector here in our industry. But I kind of knew about the Leadership Academy just from the time that I volunteered with AmericanHort, probably before it was officially announced. And several individuals that were key in making that a reality kind of just, they told me, I think this is something that would be valuable to you, Matt, if you're looking to kind of take the next step with leadership in the industry and with AmericanHort, I think this would be valuable to you. And I had a ton of questions, making sure that the commitment was something I could actually handle, making sure it was something that I'd actually be able to really focus on. But once I got all those questions answered, I just got really excited about the program. And I wasn't a shoo-in or anything like that. I still had to go through the application process. So I had to write the essays and go through the interviews and all of that. But I almost got to a point where it was like, if I don't get into this program, I'm going to be super disappointed. Luckily,
that didn't happen, fortunately.
Yeah, fortunately, it didn't happen. Luckily, I got in, and it's just been an incredible experience. And I think we're going to kind of dive into that a little bit about why it was such an incredible experience for all of us. But that's kind of how I learned about it in the process that it took to get involved.
Okay, Denise, how about you?
I'm kind of like Matt. I mean, I'm not as involved in AmericanHort as Matt here is, but I am somewhat a little bit involved. And when it came out that they were throwing this Leadership Academy together, it was kind of perfect timing for me, just because I think where I'm at currently in my career, it's something I really wanted to focus on. I wanted to take the next steps to focus on that. Just like Matt, I was a little bit concerned about like the workload, like what am I getting into? Years ago, I, had a crazy idea that I was going to go back to get my master's, and that was a quick die. There was no way I was going to be able to handle work and grad school at all. So I was a little concerned. However, I just wanted to compete. I just wanted to throw my name in the hat to see. I mean, who knows? I'm glad I got in, and I honestly was like really surprised when Jen Gray called me. But such a great class of people. I mean, it was such a great opportunity on so many levels. What were you gonna say, Matt?
Don't sell yourself too short, Denise. You're involved in it. Yeah, she's heavily involved in A and S. She volunteers a lot of her time outside of.
I do. I'm very passionate about horticulture, and I'm very passionate about being involved in this industry on a lot of levels. So I felt like this was serendipitous for me to be involved on the leadership way.
So it's interesting. I think you both mentioned, the fact that, finding the right balance between making sure you have the time to do, because I mean, both of you are obviously very busy at your day-to-day jobs. Then looking at this and making sure, okay, do I have the time and mental capability to be able to work this into what I'm already doing? How did you ultimately decide, okay, this was going to be the right fit for me, and I'm going to make sure that I make time for this in between everything else that I'm already doing?
When you kind of looked at the situation, they gave you like a rough idea of how many hours they thought it was going to take for you to commit to this.
They did.
I don't know what you think, Denise, but for me, it was probably a lot more than advertised.
Well, it's Brian, it's one of those things where we were the first year. So and this was the first year for the group, for the HRI group to be teaching as well. So it was kind of an ebb and flow between the class and the teachers per se. And I think given, hindsight 2020, I probably would have managed my time a little different. It's hard for all of us going into springtime and, everybody's shipping and growing and production and the go. But I think, we had our push, Matt and I, when we're on the same team, and, we had two other teammates, and we had our definite push, but, it was well worth it. I probably would have started sooner on some projects, but, I like pressure.
For me, it was real similar to that. It was like, Denise and, we're very involved in our companies. We've got a lot of responsibilities. It's not like you can just be like, okay, I've got 25 hours of homework to do before my next meeting. It's not like you can just cut out 25 hours of work for your day job. You've got to find some place to get that done. So
yeah,
you're often staying late, you're working from home, you're, working during your vacation days or whatever it is to get things done. But
Late nights.
yeah. But honestly, I kind of got to a point where the curriculum was so well, so put together so well. And Brevik Group, I think we'll talk about in a little bit, just did a phenomenal job coming up with the curriculum. But I got to a point where I was just thinking, this is a lot of work, but I honestly don't think there's probably something more important than I could be doing with my time right now. This is making me invest into my future and develop myself as a leader in a way that I just wouldn't be if I was not in a program like this.
And, honestly, having people that are in that same boat, everybody in that class was there for that specific reason. And so it wasn't like, you're in a team of people that are all trying to uplift everybody. And so it's not like, Joe over here is not pulling his weight. We were all in it for the same cause. So it was good camaraderie.
So when it came to the curriculum, so what was the day-to-day experience? What are some of the big things that you either individually or as a team kind of worked on? And what was the ultimate purpose of the areas that you were trying to improve of what you're doing?
Go ahead, Matt. You start.
And good luck. They kind of had it organized into 4 quadrants of focus. The first one, they flew us out to 4 different locations all throughout the country. The first location was Denver, Colorado, and that was kind of focused on strategy, business strategy, setting a vision, setting, a mission statement for your company, making sure that was really just focused on throughout your company that you work for. The second one, we were in Atlanta, I believe, and that was more focused on people management, people training, how to motivate people correctly. The third, we were in Washington, D.C., and that was really focused on advocacy. And then they also had a couple hours of education on.
That was a cool class, by the way.
Yeah. I'll let you dive into that one, Denise, but that was valuable. And then the fourth one, we actually came back to Columbus, Ohio, and we talked all about the value chain and kind of identifying key points in your company that maybe you can make small changes to that would actually really have a big influence and a big impact to your company. So those were the 4 classes, and you had homework before every single one of them. It was usually a book to read, webinars to listen to, articles to read, and you had to come ready to discuss and really understand what that homework was really trying to drive into you, because you had 2 to 3 days of intensive education every time we flew somewhere where we really just dove into that information. So that's kind of the overview of how it worked. And there was Zoom meetings in between. And then, on top of that, and maybe I'll let Denise dive into this a little bit more, we had a lead project that we all had to be working on. And that was really influential to me. But Denise, why don't you cover kind of how that worked?
So, it's real fascinating. So at the very beginning, first day in Denver, we had to come prepared with this, Herman, what was the name of the test? It's like a personality test, but it was a how you think test. It was like, are you more analytical? Do you work through problems more emotional? Are you conceptual? That kind of thing. And so they paired us based on our personality test. So most groups were groups of 3. Matt and I were in a group of 4. And it was fun because, Matt and our other teammate, Tyler, were the analyticals. And then Jonathan and I were the conceptuals. And we learned really fast that in that situation, how we kind of communicate, because it was all about communication, and it was all about how certain types of people lead, correct? And communicate through certain things. Once we broke out into our groups, we were asked to pick our top 3 categories that we wanted to work on. I think they gave us 10 different categories.
Yeah, these were specific issues in the industry that we had to tackle with the group.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and it was, and they were all very fascinating categories. E-commerce, sustainability, attracting and retaining employees. I'm not going to be able to remember them all to list them. However, when we picked everybody, I feel like everybody got their top number 1 pick. I feel like maybe there was one group who maybe got their number 2, but our group got exactly what we wanted, which was the attracting and retaining employees. All 4 of us were very passionate about people and people development. So it was Yep, it was just meant to be from the beginning.
I want to circle back to one of the topics that you mentioned, and that's advocacy. And it seems to me like that's more important thing now than ever. And I've gone to some of the past events where growers will come onto Capitol Hill, and then they'll go to their congressional offices, and it seemed to be like for a long time you were seeing the same people each time, which is great. But and you go to some of the talks at Cultivate, and there's a lot of focus on bringing in the next generation of people to do this, and a lot of that, it's not just the willingness to do it; it's having the skills to do so. So, can you talk about how HRI the Academy helped you develop those specific skills to go out and advocate on behalf of your industry?
Can I touch on this for a sec, Matt?
Definitely.
I mean, this was the advocacy thing was, so we learned about negotiation skills. And I think the most interesting thing about DC was they made it very clear how easy it is to be involved. I know all of us are kind of heavily involved in things, but it was almost like it's too easy to get involved. I mean, it's like where there's a will, there's a way. And they gave us kind of like a very basic roadmap of how to initiate groups within our communities or within our regions, other growers, other ag workers, and really advocate for our own regional issues that maybe we're facing with our, Senate or Congress. So it was very cool. Very, very cool.
Nice.
Yeah, we got to interact with some chief of staff from several members of the House of Representatives. We had an individual from the EPA there speaking to us. A lot of people, and I think I just will echo what Denise said. It was the takeaway was we are almost just craving feedback from the people that we are representing. So
Okay.
The door is always open. We need to hear what you guys want to hear and are trying to accomplish in your industry. And that was just kind of a breath of fresh air. It wasn't like we only heard from the right side. It wasn't like we only heard from the left side. We heard from both. And it was really shocking just to see like how, honestly, on the same page they were with getting things accomplished and their states or in their districts. And that was really great to hear. It was just, we're not fighting against each other. We represent the same group of people, or a really close group of people. And,
Yeah.
we need to know what you guys are struggling with, what issues you're dealing with, because we can't fix it if we don't know. And it was pretty awesome just to be able to sit down with those people for a couple hours and just talk to them and pick their brain and let them know what we were struggling with. I got to speak to an individual from the EPA just about some like real specific issues that I have had as a grower with the way they label some of the chemistries in the industry. It was like I would never have an opportunity to talk to somebody about this if I were in this leadership academy. And I think the take home from him was really like, here's my email address, here's my number, email me anytime. And you don't have to be part of the Leadership Academy to do that. Like, I need to know what you guys are dealing with. And
yeah,
that was awesome.
Yeah, the whole I think it was just letting people know that anybody in horticulture, if they're passionate about something, could easily just start advocating for certain things in their states. And they were like, literally write us a letter, send us an email, we'll answer.
So now go ahead, man. I'm sorry.
I've already sent an email to the EPA and they've already gotten back to me. So
That's impressive.
Yeah, it doesn't happen very often, I think. So that's great. So, I mean, you both are visiting, those decision makers then to kind of flip things. Have you looked at maybe opportunities then to bring some of your lawmakers or decision makers in EPA, for example, back to your farms and really show them, how the whole plant production process works and all of the issues that you're facing right on the farm or at the greenhouse, and then what kind of things, how they can help you resolve some of those issues?
We definitely have people in our company that focus on that in the states that we function in. If anything, I had more conversations with the folks at Smith Gardens that deal in that way, and talked about the summit that just happened in DC. I know there was a large group of Pacific Northwesterners that were there. Smith Gardens was not represented there, but we discussed it as a team for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and for me, just what I said, I've already kind of reached out to them and started that communication with the EPA on some things.
Yeah.
But I definitely want to get more involved with the kind of the local state government here in Ohio. And that's really who I need to be communicating with. But again, their doors open. It's really not that difficult to get a hold of them.
Okay. I want to go back to the academy then and focus on some of the takeaways, and really a kind of a twofold thing here. So your expectations going in versus, when you emerged from the academy, what were some of the takeaways there? And then things that you could then, not just for yourself, but then bring back to your companies, share with your team, and get your team involved in making their processes better at the same time.
For me, the expectation going to the academy was, something I was excited about, but like Denise said, we were kind of the guinea pigs. We were the inaugural class. So you didn't really have somebody that you could call and say, what's this like? How did this experience impact you? So it was kind of fuzzy. I remember telling my wife, before I got involved, that I'm going to be in this class with 13 other people. I vaguely know 2 of them, not well. And I hope I'm not in a class with a bunch of weirdos. That's going to be real. That was it. The group that we were a part of was incredible, and I'm sure Denise would feel that way too. They're people that I'm going to have a friendship with, I think, for my entire career, my entire life. That's such an opportunity to bond with these people and develop those relationships. So that was the biggest takeaway for me, was just how impactful it was to interact with people that you didn't really know, but just have kind of the same career goals and life goals as you. And like Denise said, Brevet Group really kind of forced you to work in a comfortable way, but they put you in a position where you said, you got to interact with these people and you got to do it quickly, because you have these projects that are due, you have these things that you have to get done, you're going to be presenting to the boards that are going to cultivate. So figure it out. They didn't hold our hand.
Sorry, Brett, go ahead.
No, go
So
ahead.
I was going to say, the one thing I think you're leaving out, Matt, is that when we came out of this group, this was not a group of quiet people. I think originally when I came in, I thought is this going to be a bunch of listeners, or, how truly interactive is this going to be? But
yeah,
this was a very outspoken group. But it was great because there was no issue of, if you didn't know an answer to a problem, or you had a question about something, it was very free to say or ask those questions or those concerns, or say hey, I don't understand any of this, and let's talk about it. And it was a very open space. So I think that's what made it really great, on top of the fact that everyone was willing to share. And, it came about pretty fast that we were all willing to poke at each other and make our jokes. And, the team built pretty quick. Matt.
Well, it just is.
Did you start on that HBDI kind of personality test that we all took? And that was really, I think, critical and pretty important to happen on day one, because it was a visual way just to kind of say, here's 13 people that you don't know, but here's at least how they think. So you can understand okay, well, Denise is going to approach this issue this way. I'm probably going to approach it this way. Ty here in our group is going to approach it this way. And, if I'm looking at Denise and I'm thinking, why the heck are you looking at it that way? Then I could go back to HBDI and be like, okay, this is why she's looking at it that way.
I'm not crazy, Matt, I swear.
She's actually, there's some good stuff going on up there. No, it was incredible. It was incredible working with the group that we did. And the thing about it is when I take that back to our own company, I never really thought about it in that terms of okay, this is somebody that I interact with every day, somebody that I do business with. And they're approaching this issue differently than me and our own company. And, I bet it's because they are, right quadrant, right upper quadrant, HBDI. That's part of the brain that they use. That's why they're looking at this differently. And instead of me just looking at them and getting frustrated and being like, you're missing the point, it's me saying, okay, you got a different perspective than me because it's the way your brain is built. And I got a different perspective than you because it's the way my brain works. That's really helped me, I think, in my day-to-day job to understand people better. And it was almost like this whole lead project was forcing us to understand that not everybody's going to see things the way that you see it. And you have to understand that if you're a leader. You have to approach your employees, your coworkers differently if you really want to successfully build a strong team.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think our biggest joke with Jonathan and I being different than Matt and Tyler was, you know, they were always like, whoa, 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 you guys are moving like we just like blah, 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 blah. We move really talk fast, we think faster. But, you know, Matt and Tyler, they do the details, they analyze, they want to slow it down and think about the details, which is great because you need that as a team. And it was definitely very fascinating. But yeah, I agree with Matt. It teaches you really quick you have to communicate with people the way that they need to be communicated with, or at least have an understanding of it, for sure.
Yeah. But if we didn't have Denise and Jonathan on our team, Tyler and I'd probably still be analyzing things.
Well, and I know both of you mentioned that camaraderie, and just, you know, as an outside observer, I was in the room at the HRI reception at Cultivate this year, and when every team member, you know, was recognized, you could just you got that sense of this is a very tight knit group. You're all cheering each other on, and it was really nice to see. I know, Denise, you mentioned the communication. So when you came out of the academy, did you set up a system where you guys would all be in communication with each other moving forward then, and stay in touch and continue to learn from each other?
Actually, one of our other teammates did that. Yeah, we have like a chat group, if you will, amongst all 14 of us. And, you know, it can sometimes be questions about certain things. It can sometimes just be poking the bear a little bit. It's fun. Fun little chat group. But yeah, we sure keep in touch and send pictures. And I know as the next class comes about, we will be somewhat participatory in some of those events, I think.
Yeah, some of us are going out to Dallas in about a month to interact with the new class, which will be cool. And we've already got some one-year reunion plans in the works.
Nice.
So we definitely want to stay connected for a very long time here.
So what advice do you have for this next class, and what's the most important thing that they need to know going into this?
Denise?
Ooh. I think it's just, you know, enjoy it, have fun with it. I mean, absorb as much information as you can, ask the questions, and don't be scared to ask the questions, and don't be scared to say you don't know the answer. And because there's so much good information from the people that are there that you just gotta absorb. Yeah.
I think probably the biggest challenge for me during this past year in the academy was the lead project. That was something that was very demanding. And
for sure.
A lot of my advice would probably be focused around that, really how to tackle that properly. Like Denise said earlier, you know, we didn't really know what we were doing. We were, you know, thinking.
Waited too late to get started on things.
We can wait 6 months until we start working on this. And that was the best decision. But, I would tell them, you know, just figure out what your strategy is going to be for that lead project as quickly as you can and start working on it now. I mean, they've already had, the second class has already had their first get together. So they should be working on their lead projects as we speak. And you got to figure out, you know, like Denise and I's lead project, we decided to do a lot of industry surveys. We did some university surveys. We collected data from a lot of different people in the industry. And that was a lot of work. Like, that was a ton of work. And it was fun. It was fascinating, but it was a lot of work. And you need to start on that right now. You need to really just get going on it, because you're going to have so much data thrown at you. Trying to decipher it all, it's going to take a long time. And trying to kind of sift through what's important and what's not important with the data you collect takes a lot of work and a lot of understanding of what you're trying to accomplish. So
try to squeeze it all into like a 40-minute conversation is even tougher, you know?
Yeah, we had an hour to present, and you're like, I've been doing this for a year. You really think I can talk about this in 60 minutes?
I can certainly understand that.
No, definitely what Denise said too. Like, embrace that. You're going to get to interact with some really incredible people. You're going to get flown all over the country. You're going to have opportunities to develop some really strong relationships.
Nice.
Take advantage of that. That's an incredible thing. All of our lives are so busy. We always got so much going on in our careers. But just to go out to a city that you're not from for 3 days and just be able to get to know people, that's really cool. And it's almost hard to describe how important that is, but it's really cool.
Okay. So the ultimate goal out of this academy is obviously leadership then. So can you just talk about overall just the importance and the value of being a strong leader, both within your companies, and then in the industry as a whole, and why that's so important?
I think being a strong leader within your company really ultimately just helps everybody in the organization. And if the people, the people are the organization, that's what the driver is. And so if you got a good team, then you can make a lot of things happen. And when the cogs work well together, then the wheel can spin faster. And so I think as a good leader, being able to have the conversations with the right groups of people and then help facilitate different conversations and organize processes to, have things work better, more efficient is just a benefit. And that speaks also for the industry as well, because you're advocating, we're all advocating for agriculture and we're all farmers at heart. So.
Yeah, definitely. I like that Denise kind of boiled it down to the people, because that's where it always starts with me. I think, if you're somebody who wants to lead and has that desire to lead, really, if you want to be an effective leader, it has to come down to the motivation of, I just want to see the people that I work with, that I'm around, that report to me, whatever it is, succeed. Like, that's just got to be your baseline there. I'm doing this. Yeah, I'm doing this to see them succeed. And if you can be that kind of selfless leader where you're not really focused on yourself, you're just focused on building those around you, that's going to make your company better. Obviously, if you have good people, your company's going to be good. It's going to make the industry better, because we have a collection of companies in our industry that are strong and build on that foundation of strong individuals. The company's going to be better. So it's really all, to me, just comes down to, I want to see people succeed. I want to see our industry succeed. I want to see our company succeed. And that's why I think it's important. I think at some point, those of us who were involved in the academy had to make a decision in our careers of, like, I'm not going to just sit on the sideline and kind of watch this industry happen. I'm going to get involved in it. I'm going to try to shape it. I'm going to try to take it to a better place. And if you have that desire, like, this academy is perfect for you. It's going to be the perfect opportunity for you to develop and meet those goals. I think you would probably agree with that.
Oh yeah, 100%, Matt.
That mindset certainly makes sense too. You always hear that you can't complain about the result of a process if you're not involved in the process in the first place. So that mindset that makes a lot of sense. I like to close these conversations, regardless of the topic, kind of going back into the greenhouse and to the plants in particular. So, as this year winds down from a production standpoint, what's the plant that you grew as a company this year that you're most excited about personally, that you've seen in the greenhouse and you're saying to yourself, okay, I got to have that plant back at our home? Is there a plant that jumps out at you from this past year that you're really excited about?
Question to answer ever.
Especially with Denise, that's like Denise's job description, is to just discover.
Yeah, so many plants. You know what's weird? I guess it's not weird. It's weird to me as a plant person, and it's probably weird to other plant people. If I say this, they're going to be like, all right, Denise, whatever. But honestly, there's a coleus that came out this year. It's called, from Pan Am Seed, called Premium Sun Coral Candy. And I tell you what, it is the most beautiful. It's sitting on my patio right now. And oddly enough, I've seen it all over the country all summer. And it's a beautiful plant. But honestly, in our cooler climate, it is like the colors in it. It's just, I love this plant. I look at it every day. So that'll be my one plant that I'm super focused on into next year. It will be in a lot of the combinations that I put together.
Nice.
Coral candy on my back deck as well right now, Denise.
So,
probably looks better considering you're in a better climate. Hang on.
Nice.
For me, it's actually kind of funny, because in the Leadership Academy, we would kind of joke about, like, you got people who are plant nerds in the industry, and then you got people who, kind of just in it because they really enjoy the process of running a company and maybe the technical side of growing. That was kind of like a pretty clear line for us. Denise is definitely a plant person. She's a certified plant nerd. Which I wouldn't say I am, but I really enjoy the technical side of growing. But if I was to pick, I think, one plant that really blew my mind this year, it would probably be, well, I've got a lot of lemon from Dooman, a lot of County lemonberry begonias. They look
That's
incredible.
a good plant.
It's a good plant. I love that one. It's kind of like, you don't have to have a green thumb to succeed with it. It's really tough and really durable. So it's nice, especially when you're working, 12-hour days in the spring and you can't get home and tend to your garden, to just see that thing continue to thrive every day.
Oh yeah. There's too many great plants there's too many great plants. It's really hard to narrow it down to one. I'll be curious to see it's always fun to watch how the market trends every year versus like what people tend to buy. But it's one of those questions where it's like, do we as growers make those decisions for the consumers, or the consumers really drive it? Obviously we follow those trends and the consumers are driving it, but anyway.
You try to nudge them in a direction sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, you have those plants that the consumer loves and that the grower loves as well, and they don't always mirror each other. I mean, sometimes you have a plant that it's very hard to grow, but if you can grow it the right way, the consumer is going to love it. So, but whatever approach you take is great. Well, I think we're all looking forward to what the next phase of the HRI Leadership Academy is like. So I definitely want to thank both of you for sharing your thoughts on your experience with it, and how it's going to benefit you, how it's going to benefit your companies and the industry as a whole. So a lot of great insights here.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
It was a pretty awesome opportunity to promote it. And, I would just say anybody that's out there that's thinking about getting involved in future classes, it's worth the effort. It's going to be a lot of effort, but it's worth the effort.
I agree. And for those who apply that maybe didn't get in, say this year or even last year, just keep applying. It's a lot of people to go through. So, I mean, meaning like there's so many great people to choose from. I know they're having issues with, like coming down to this or this. It's hard to choose. So keep applying.
Thanks for joining us. You can learn more at greenhousegrower.com. Please subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen.